did our girls, have this social competence, as they moved from one cubicle to another, torching or lighting the fires, were they thinking about the well-being of the other children? Were the girls who burnt the school, were they aware of their thought processes? Did they take time to reflect on whether these thoughts are positive, that they are going to bring positive decisions and positive behavior? And my heart goes out to the parents who have endured this loss, and their families and their friends. But even as a country, we have lost. We have lost because there's so much potential. Every child is unique, special, and they carry a gift to the world. Now that is lost. Okay?
If you transition a child from a private primary school to a private secondary school, the transition is smoother. If you transition a child from a private primary school to a public secondary school, the transition might not be as smoother.
A child will not make a responsible decision if they do not have the relevant information. Is there something that is being done in private schools that we are not doing in public schools?
Okay.
Does the school make intentional and the necessary? Does it make efforts to ensure that children are given an opportunity to air their views in matters that affect them?
Greetings, viewers. Today we are privileged to have Waichinga. Waichinga is a practicing psychologist and a veteran educationist. Karibu sana, Ann.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kimari. Happy to be here.
Karibu sana. So let's jump right into it. We have had a recent fire at Utumishi Academy. And I'm curious. I would like you to help us unpack what you think based on your extensive experience working with high school students as to what you have been able to observe and your opinion about the recent happenings.
Yeah, like you said, it's a very unfortunate incident, and unfortunately, we have had several of those incidents where we have lost innocent lives, and it begs the question, why? Why should our children be so violent as to want to kill their own because those are their peers? And I've been thinking and reflecting on this, and I'm wondering, do our children have the requisite socio-emotional competencies? Because when you talk about a child, when a child is developing, there's the physical development and there's the cognitive development. But most of the time, even when you remember when you're bringing up your children, I'm a mother. I know you're a father, Mr. Kimari. You will take your child, for the antenatal clinic and prenatal clinic. That's physical, medical. You will feed your child so that they grow up, and after that, you transit and take your children to school so that they learn. But are we very intentional in supporting our children to learn the social and emotional competencies that help them to make responsible decisions, that they help them to embrace day-to-day challenges and to address them effectively.
Okay.
Because I think that is where the problem is.
So when you say social emotional competence, so that's a big word. It's a mouthful. Can you cite examples that we can every day refer to and begin to appreciate what you mean?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. I would like to break the socio-emotional competencies into 5 key areas, of maybe we can just call them life skills and values. So there's the self-awareness. Self-awareness, which helps a child to understand themselves. It helps a child to accept themselves as they are and to love themselves unconditionally, because you can't give what you do not have. So if I do not accept myself, if I do not understand myself and I do not love myself, I'm not ready or in a psychological state to be able to accept another, to seek to understand another, to accept them and to love them. So that's very pertinent.
So self-awareness is referring to an emotional journey of realizing how you respond or react and to situations around you, partially.
Yes. It's actually about nurturing a relationship with me. So the child gets to understand that they have the most important relationship with themselves, okay? And they are able to reflect on who am I? What are my strengths? What are my areas of improvement? What are my values? Okay. What emotions run through me? How do I manage those emotions? Okay. And love themselves for who they are. Know that they are worthy, they are dignified, not because of what others expect of them, not because of what they have achieved, not because of what their parents are, but simply because they are who they are.
Okay, that
They
is
are unique.
competency 1.
Competence 1. So competence 2 is self-regulation or self-management. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about a child being present to their thoughts, that as they go about their day-to-day business, they are aware that every single minute they have thoughts running through their minds. And these thoughts can either be positive or negative. So when a child is aware, cognizant of their thought processes, then they are able at any one time to know what kind of thoughts am I experiencing and what kind of thoughts do I want to nurture, okay? And what kind of thoughts do I want to just let go? Because thoughts will come, whether positive or negative. But the most important thing is how do we deal with these thoughts? And now when you look at what has happened, you would want to ask yourself, were the girls who burnt the school, were they aware of their thought processes? Did they take time to reflect on whether these thoughts are positive, that they are going to bring positive decisions and positive behavior? And when you talk about positive, it is something that will add value to your life and add value to the life of the other learners or their colleagues.
Okay.
And we can clearly see that is some self-reflection that never took place. Right. Now, besides the thought processes, we have the emotions, okay? So all of us are emotional beings. We experience emotion, even as we are seated here, we are experiencing emotions. And there are no good or bad emotions. All emotions are good because they give us messages. And what determines whether the emotions, the emotions work for you or they don't work for you is the way you deal with them. So, for example, if the girls maybe were disappointed, or angry with the school administration, or maybe their peers, that's an emotion. And it's something that is natural, something that is very good because it tells them that something somewhere is not going right. Maybe they've been hurt, okay? Maybe they have not been supported to meet their needs. But what was the best way of dealing with those emotions? Okay? For example, if they were angry and now they have burnt the school, that has not helped them to meet their needs. Okay? So these competencies help our children, first and foremost, to be aware of the emotions that are running through them, to be able to accept and embrace those emotions, okay? And then to begin to ask themselves, what is this emotion telling me and what action can I take that will help me to be able to deal with the need underlying that emotion, okay?
Right.
Or to tackle the situation. So
that's number 2. Number 3?
Number 3 is social awareness. Now, when you talk about social awareness, we are referring to us being aware of others, okay? Appreciating others, being able to demonstrate empathy towards other people. And what I always say, very important, is that appreciating the fact that all of us are interdependent and interconnected, that whatever I do, even if I do it in, like in my house, it will affect the people around me, okay? Look at something like the global warming issue, climate change. So it happens in one country, but it is affecting all of us, okay? Something like corruption. It is done by a few people, but it affects the whole the whole country, everybody in the country. So the moment that we realize that we are not an island, that we coexist and we need one another, then we are bound to ask ourselves, how do we live with one another? How do we support one another? Because what happens to me, what I do affects the other person. What the other person does affects me. So now we can ask ourselves again, did our girls, have this social competence, as they moved from one cubicle to another, torching or lighting the fires, were they thinking about the well-being of the other children? Yeah. And even their well-being, Yeah, because all actions have consequences. Yeah.
So that's number 3.
Number 3. Number 4 is relationship skills. So once we appreciate that we are interdependent and we are interconnected and we need one another, then how do we nurture relationships that are healthy, okay, and sustain those relationships? So those are prosocial skills, or positive social skills that help us to relate well with others. Yeah. So if, for example, I have an issue, because we are human beings, we have weaknesses, we have our strength, and we have weaknesses, which I prefer to call areas of improvement. So, but there is a way that you can communicate to somebody who has, like, made you annoyed, or has done something that is not just, doesn't sit right with you. There's a way that you can communicate and resolve that issue, okay? So, do our children have prosocial skills, prosocial skills like listening, being able to listen. Prosocial skills like being empathic. Prosocial skills, like respect. Do our children have these skills? And if they do, then why are they doing what they are doing?
I see.
Yeah.
These are number 5?
These are number 5.
All right.
And the number 5 is responsible decision-making skills. We said from the moment we wake up to the time that we fall asleep, we are making decisions every single minute. But the decisions that we make need to be based on facts. They need to be based on like sound information, okay? So that this decision that I make, I know exactly how it is going to affect my situation, all right? So that reflective process that helps a child to pause and reflect and evaluate their situation, okay? So that they can begin to like understand if I make this decision and take this action, these are the consequences. Am I ready to take accountability, to be accountable for the consequences of my decisions? That is what responsible decision making is all about. And now I reflect and ask myself, these girls and many others, because we have had other schools affected, did they pause to really think through what they are doing? What are the consequences? That lives will be lost. This is a criminal offense, okay? They will be apprehended as children. That may interfere with their studies, okay? They will carry the burden of the loss of life of the 16 girls, Yeah, and as a parent, as a psychologist, and as an educator, I ask myself, have we done our bit? Have we done our bit to support our children? Because at every stage of growth and development, there are some requisite socio-emotional competencies that a child is supposed to develop and nurture. So have we done our bit to provide those opportunities for our children to develop these competencies? At school, as we engage with the learners, at the back of our mind, are we aware of what we are modeling to the learners, okay? Are we aware of what they are learning from us, okay? And even because now life skills and values have been integrated and infused into the curriculum, are we very intentional and very deliberate to actually identify those competencies, plan for them, and deliver them in our specific subjects or strands, because right now we are calling them strands. Yeah, and as parents, are we aware that our child is a holistic being? That is, when they are healthy physically and when they are getting their A's, it's not enough. There's another aspect, the socio-emotional development, that we need to focus on so that now this child can actually acquire optimal holistic development. Yeah, because it's like a weighing scale.
Okay.
Yeah, when one part is heavier than the other, then there's no balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's something you had observed that
Yes.
many of these incidences are happening in certain schools.
Yeah.
Can you explain that further?
Okay. This is a very disturbing occurrence and a huge loss, not only to the parents, and my heart goes out to the parents who have endured this loss and the families and the friends, but even as a country, we have lost. We have lost because there's so much potential. Every child is unique, special, and they carry a gift to the world. Now that is lost. Okay? So I've been wondering, and looking back to the incidents that we have had in the past, and you will agree with me that majority of them happen in public schools.
That's correct.
So I was asking myself, what is it we are doing? Is there something that is being done in private schools that we are not doing in public schools?
Okay.
Or could there be some reason behind this happening in public schools, like what you had mentioned, like maybe we have children coming from private schools, joining public schools, and they have issues adjusting to
So that's my
the
theory.
environment.
My theory is if you transition a child from a private primary school to a private secondary school, the transition is smoother. If you transition a child from a private primary school to a public secondary school, the transition might not be as smoother. For instance, a limitation of resources. Maybe their teacher-student ratio in primary school was different in a private school. Now they have fewer teachers managing more students, limited resources like water, food, hanging lines, all these other issues. And maybe children from private primary schools are not adjusting properly, and their way of voicing their dissatisfaction is trying to disrupt the rest of learning. But this is my theory. Do you think it has any foundation, though?
Okay. Before I comment on that, I would like to say that maybe what we need to do is research and find out why do we have more of these incidents in public schools than in private schools, and see whether we can be able to get some credible data that will inform, that will test the theories, the hypotheses that we have here right now. But now going back to your question, it is true that probably maybe the environments in a public school and a private schools, they are different, and that could be unsettling to a child. But again, I think that is something that needs to be like researched on, so that we can have a credible data. Because when I looked at some of the videos that were being shared, you could see that even the facilities in that dorm were pretty good because they were cubicles, and that boils down to again, because you see, even for a child to be able to adjust, they need the skill sets to be able to do that. Okay, they need the skill sets to be able to do that. And the reason why they do not adjust is because they are not able to, like they are not able to reason, they are not able to like dialogue with others. They are not able to understand why they are here and what their goals are, and why they need to make the sacrifice that they need to make now so that they can be able to achieve their goal, the goals that they need to achieve. Yeah.
So as you mentioned, you are an educationist and you've done a lot of research around learners. So what are some of the research that you've been involved in, or project that you've been involved in, that would be relevant to this conversation, or help me understand when you talk about research, what exactly do you mean?
We have a lot of research going on, like in all the universities, for example, universities that are offering education, people undertake research in schools. And I'm just pointing out that, and I know there's quite a bit of research probably that has been done on unrest in schools, okay? But still, I think there's still some gray areas, that we need to look into and identify why our children behaving this way and not probably how we would want them or how we would desire them to behave. So some of the reasons why children demonstrate or they cause these fires is majorly because they are dissatisfied, probably with the services. You'll hear some of them saying that they are not heard, okay? Like they have not been listened to by the administration. Like their issues, there are no proper means of communication within the school such that their issues are heard and addressed.
Okay.
And I think that is a very pertinent issue because we are bringing up these children to be responsible adults. And there is no better way of doing it than modeling that to our children. So if we expect our children to listen to one another, and when they sit in offices, to listen to maybe their juniors and other stakeholders, then it is important for them to see us do it as they grow up. So at our homes, do we have what we call child participation? Okay? When a child is actually given an opportunity to air their views, their opinions, and they're involved in discussions regarding the family well-being, all right? At the school level, again, this child is a major stakeholder in that school. Being a child, he's a learner, he's a major stakeholder. So does the school make intentional and the necessary, does it make efforts to ensure that children are given an opportunity to air their views in matters that affect them? Okay, so if they have any issues, like in some schools, we have barazas, okay, where the principal we sit with the learners maybe once per week or once per month, and just for them to air their views, and the space is safe, it's non-judgmental, you can say what you want. In other schools, we have, what do you call them? The communication, the complaint boxes, okay, where the children can be able to write their issues and put them in the complaint boxes. In other schools, we have class meetings, all right? Like schools will come up with families, okay? So, we have sometimes in other schools, we'll have class meetings where they sit with their class teachers and they discuss these issues. Other schools, we may have families, okay? Where we have members of that family from grade 1 all the way probably to grade 6, or if it has a junior school up to grade 8, they sit and they discuss, okay? And children are heard. So these are some of the areas that now the research that we are talking about
could be able to look into.
And look at how are the communication channels in a school.
So it should go just beyond infrastructure. So most of the research, especially after the Endarasha fire, is that they were looking at the safety of the physical structures without addressing the socio-emotional issues of the learners. So now you are a high school teacher yourself.
I was.
So perhaps you can tell us a bit of how you became a high school teacher and how you stopped being a high school teacher and what it is that you are now.
Okay, they say once a teacher, always a teacher.
See, I'm sorry. Forgive me for being wrong.
Yeah, so I believe I am a teacher, an educator. So I was in Kenyatta University, graduated and proceeded to teach at Bishop Gatimo Gandu Girls.
What did you study?
I studied education, but specialized in geography and CRE. Yes, so that is what I was teaching. Then I proceeded to, after that, I went to Kanunga. I transferred to Kanunga High School. But after 2 years, I transitioned to the Ministry of Education, Quality Assurance Department. So I worked there for many years, from 1996 up to 2006.
So kindly unpack for us, what does quality assurance entail? So what does a quality assurance officer at the Ministry of Education do?
Entail. Yeah, so what's quality assurance? Their core business is to supervise the implementation of curriculum. So they will look at a school in its entirety because the environment of a child affects the quality of learning. So they supervise the actual teaching in the classroom and all other areas of the learning environment and make sure that it is supportive to the child. Yeah, so when I was working at the ministry, I got the opportunity to work with guidance and counseling teachers, and that pricked my interest in what I'm doing now because I'm focusing on socio-emotional learning, strengthening socio-emotional learning for every child in Kenya and beyond. And the reason why I decided to focus on this area is because I realized that we focus more on the physical and the cognitive development of the child, yet socio-emotional development is an equally important aspect of growth and development. So, and if you look at our circumstantial evidence and even reports, you see that we have a lot of issues that our children are facing. They have issues making decisions in their lives. For example, I've come across very many learners after fourth form who are not very sure of the career that they want to pursue. Why? Then you will find they have relationship problems. Some of them get into drug abuse, violence. This unfortunate incident, which will not happen again, in our country, where we are losing young lives. And these are serious problems that can actually be curtailed if we are able to be cognizant of our role in helping our children nurture what I've called the socio-emotional competencies.
So what tools then have you developed, for instance, to try and arrest the situation after you worked with guidance and counseling teachers? What are the gaps that you identified, and what have you done to try and plug those gaps?
Yeah, so if we were to do even some of the reports that we did in the ministry, you'll find that we have done a beautiful job as a country because there's no school that doesn't have a guidance and counseling department. But the question is, are those departments as functional as they should be? Are teachers well guided on especially the guidance part? Because they are not, many of them are not qualified counselors or therapists, but they can be able to give what we call supportive, assistance, to the children. and more so be able to give the guidance aspect. Remember, we talked about responsible decision making. A child will not make a responsible decision if they do not have the relevant information. So we need to identify what information does a child have. For example, from ages zero actually, because children start learning these social-emotional competencies actually in the womb, okay? And we need to sensitize our parents. The relationship that parents have with their unborn children is very important, okay? Yes, because from inside there, they can actually start sensing whether they are coming into a safe or an unsafe world, depending on the psychological state of the mother. So just a message here for the dads, please love and take care of your wives. Pregnant wives, yeah, because already your child is developing in there, and they are actually learning whether their world is safe or unsafe. So we need to make sure that the mothers are happy and the fathers are available and present and taking care, actually also building a relationship with their unborn children. So beyond that, from the time that they are born up to 3 years, the children are like working hard to develop trust, trust in their parents, their primary caregivers, and other significant others around them, and they're able to mirror that trust to themselves. So if that doesn't happen, what happens? This child grows up knowing that they are not worth, to be loved, okay? So they don't trust the world, and they also do not trust themselves, okay? Then every other stage, like when you go now from 1.5 years to 3 years, that's the time they start realizing they are a separate entity from their parents, and they can actually make some decisions, okay? Like they don't have to rely on their parents. They can make some decisions. So they are trying to develop autonomy. And autonomy helps a child to be self-independent and self-reliant. Okay? So if we are overprotective, we don't allow them space to make some decisions, like the toys they are going to play with, to feed themselves, then they believe that they cannot be able to make those decisions. And that's how they will grow up. And in the next stage, they are trying to initiate some initiatives, like if it is a pile of blocks, like start a project and complete the project. You find them trying now to like bathe themselves, tie their shoe, clothe themselves. And so we need to give them many opportunities to make decisions so that they can be able to nurture that. That way, they will be able now, as they grow up, to start something and follow through and complete it without feeling that they are going to fail or like they do not have the ability to complete that. Then as they get into childhood, that's when now they are trying to perfect their competencies, okay? So we call it industry, industry versus inferiority. So like, are they able to come from school, settle down and do their homework? If they have issues, do they get support so that they can be able now to master, to accomplish their tasks? Are we able to identify as parents what they need to do, like making their beds, brushing their teeth, now taking a shower, so that they are able to manage those self-care tasks, okay? If they are not able to do that, then they develop inferiority. They feel like they are inadequate, like they do not measure up. And then now during adolescence is the identity phase, who am I really, Can I make my own decisions? Who am I as a girl? Who am I as a boy? So all this requires a lot of information, like you guide and you support so that they are able to develop these competencies. Yeah, because if they don't, then we are likely to have the problems that we are having all through.
I see.
And this problem will run into their adulthood.
Okay.
So we will have a cycle.
So I'd asked a question, have you developed any tools
Yes.
to...
Yes, I have developed. For the gap that we have in our guidance and counseling department, I have developed a manual yes.
This one?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, so this manual is a social-emotional learning manual for facilitators. So it takes an experiential approach, so that the teacher is not the one giving information, but they are able to organize activities for the learners to engage in, so that the learners can actually be able to derive the skill sets for themselves and get to that aha moment of, oh yes, this is self-awareness, okay? And it helps me to understand myself and to love myself. And it is important for me to love myself because that is the blueprint that I have to relate with other people. So there are fun activities because children learn through play, by the way. Play is the language for children. So all these activities that are in this book are games, fun activities for children to be able to actually reflect and be able to identify or flag out those life skills and see how they relate with themselves. Yeah, so this manual can be used by guidance and counseling teachers. It can also be used by life skills facilitators at community level. It can also be used by counselors who are working with children, and it can also be used by faith institutions, church schools, youth schools or youth programs, and even in mosques where we have seminars for the youth. Yeah, they can be used, yes.
Oh.
And then besides that,
Yes.
it is. I thought it was very important for children themselves to have a material that they can work with. So I developed workbooks for children.
Okay.
For example, that's the mental self-awareness. Now, remember we talked about the thought processes. It's very important for them to begin to understand that they have beliefs. As they grow up, they have internalized beliefs that have shaped their values, and the values have shaped their attitudes, and the attitudes shape their thought processes, and the thought processes shape their decisions, and their decisions shape their behaviors, and their behaviors shape their habits, and their habits shape their personality. So this book helps the children to, again, through those fun, engaging activities, to reflect on that, so that from an early age, they are able to take control of their thought processes. Then the other one is the emotional self-awareness. Again,
So that's mental.
Yeah, that's mental.
This is emotional.
Emotional, yes. So this one again helps them now to embrace all their emotions and to develop what we call emotional literacy. Now, emotional literacy is that process that I took you through. You are able to identify, name your emotions. You don't say that I'm feeling good or I'm feeling bad, but you say the exact feeling. I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm peaceful, I'm angry, I'm feeling a lot of hatred, you identify it because you can't deal with what you don't know. Then from there, you acknowledge. unfortunately, as we bring up our children, sometimes we don't allow them to experience, especially the difficult emotions. When a child is angry, we tend to shut them off and
Try
tell
to
them.
suppress them.
Yeah. So they learn that this is not a healthy emotion, and I'm not supposed to express this emotion. So what happens? Emotion is something that is natural. So if it is not properly expressed and acknowledged, then that's when we have these outbursts that we are having because our children don't know how to deal or to manage their emotions.
I see.
Yeah. Then besides these, we have the social emotional awareness to again help them to appreciate that they are part and parcel of humanity. And we have the spiritual awareness because we are spiritual beings. Yeah. So these workbooks, we are developing a learning management system which will be launched in the next 1 month, where the children can actually access these materials, and we will have counselors on board to support the children as they go through their learning journey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for gracing the show. Dear viewers, that's the end of our session today. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.